The effects of token economies of special needs students' disruptive behavior in the general education classroom. The signature project is done by Whitney, Hester. The research problem is that the special needs students with negative behaviors can impact students' learning in the general education classroom. Some behaviors are so severe that the general education students cannot be in the same room as the special needs students. Negative behavior can be so violent that it's just disruptive to the neighboring classrooms by increasing the noise level. These behaviors may even cause fear in the general education students. The negative behaviors can consist of throwing objects, foul language, and violent behavior towards themselves or others. These behaviors may restrict the environment that the students can function in, resulting in less learning in the general education classroom with the peers. Research problem. The problem this study will address is negative behaviors from special needs students. This is a problem due to the fact that the negative behaviors can impact the students in the general education classroom along with the students with the negative behaviors. Negative behaviors can be described as when a student makes a disruption that interferes with the teacher's ability to instruct or their peers' ability to learn. This can cause an educational impact on the general education students and/or special needs students. Depending on when the negative behavior happens in the classroom and at what level it is, it may cause the students not to be able to pay attention to the instructor. The whole class may be removed from the room during these behaviors. I have determined that this is a problem because the students that I work with exhibit negative behaviors either in the special education classroom or in the general education classroom. I have noticed that students on a token economy has decreased with their behaviors at times. When a student is not on my token economy, the behaviors frequently will stay consistent or increase at times. Dealing with the negative behaviors with special needs students can impact the mental and physical health of teachers and peers. Research purpose. The purpose of this study is to evaluate the impact of a token economy system on the behaviors of elementary special needs students. The problem being addressed is the increased frequency of negative behaviors by special education students in the general education classroom. Token economies have been used as a tool for dealing with negative behaviors and reinforcing the positive behaviors in students. If token economies are proven to be viable options for reducing negative behaviors for special needs students, then it can be more widely implemented by teachers and educational systems. Research question and hypothesis. The research question for this study is, do token economies have a significant impact on the negative behaviors of special needs students? The null hypothesis of the study is, students who participate in a token economy program do not exhibit significantly fewer negative behaviors than students who are not on the token economy system. The alternative hypothesis for this study is, students who participate in a token economy program exhibit significantly fewer negative behaviors than students who are not in a token economy system. Support data. According to the Digest of Educational Statistics, 12.2% of students in Alabama are classified as special needs. Nationally, 63.4% of students spend time over 80% of their time in the general education classroom. The Digest of Educational Statistics is a statistical report completed yearly by the National Center of Educational Statistics. It is a government-funded organization that is subsidiary of the U.S. Department of Education. I do believe the report is credible as it pulls from a variety of primary sources and is backed by the federal government. Theoretically framework. P.F. Skinner described the idea of a token economy to shape positive behaviors by applying reinforcements to them. Skinner believed that operant conditioning would reinforce positive behaviors, thus decreasing the frequency of negative behaviors. Skinner's theory of operant conditioning describes that the consequences of certain behaviors determine the probability of it being repeated. Skinner described 4 types of operant conditioning as positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative punishment. Token economies, as being assessed in this study, is an example of positive reinforcement. Literature review and summary. It is imperative that special needs students stay in their least restrictive environment, particularly if that is the special needs education classroom. Students are more successful in their least restrictive environment, and they are promised that by federal laws. When special needs students exhibit behaviors that disrupts the class, often they are pulled from that environment and stay in an inclusion setting. Token economies are often used as positive reinforcements to limit students from exhibiting negative behaviors, and encouraging them through manipulatives to do positive behaviors. Token economies have been shown to both increase academic performances and decrease disruptive behaviors. If token economies can be used to decrease disruptive behaviors in special needs students, then they can spend more time in the general education classroom, thus allowing them to maintain the general education classroom as their least restricted environment. Method and design. I plan to use a quantitative methodology of this study. I believe that the data collected from the study would better suit a quantitative approach, as it leads to more numeric approach rather than observational. Furthermore, the research question fits as comparative methodology rather than descriptive approach. Population and participant role. The population of the study are elementary grade students who are diagnosed with special needs and do not spend their entire day in the general ed. The participants of the study are second grade male and female students from a rural Alabama elementary school that are diagnosed with special needs or behavioral issues as defined by their IEPs. The students do not spend all of their time in the general education classroom. The students fit a diverse range of socioeconomic statuses and racial backgrounds. The sample chosen fits that the population identified in the study, and results from the sample will correlate to the identified population. Ethnical considerations. It is important that the research maintain strong ethical procedures and practices throughout the study. To maintain researcher privacy and lack of bias to the school, samples are nominated coded. IRB approval must be obtained. Privacy of each participant is mandated, and the data is only reviewed by the researcher. Collected data is protected and locked in a password-protected folder on the researcher's computer's hard drive. After data analysis is finalized, the data will be deleted from the hard drive. Demographic information is considered but not solely addressed. Ethnical considerations. The Belmont Report, as described by the Department of Health, describes 3 core principles for ethnically treated human subjects in research. Those principles are respect for others, beneficiaries, and justice. Respect for others involves protecting the autonomy of all subjects while treating them with courtesy and respect. This includes those participants who are not able to properly give informed consent. Beneficiaries involve increasing the benefit for participants in a study while minimizing the risk of others. The research will maximize beneficiaries by keeping data source as to not let it harm their value in the school organization. And the principles of justice involves making sure all procedures for this research are being administered fairly to all the participants. This study will maintain justice to all participants by following collection research exactly per participant and no division occurs from the research plan. Data collection. Permission to conduct the study begins with the principal of Harvest Elementary School and Madison County School District. The principal determines if the study is able to be conducted at the school. Written permission is gathered for the study participants by way of a permission letter. Once written approval was received by the principal, the local education agency, special education coordinator, and the superintendent reviews the study request. The secondary coordinator and superintendent give the permission to conduct the study, so no further permission are needed from local educational agency personnel. Once permission is gained to conduct the research from LEA, UWA, and participants, the research will begin. Testing will be administered, data collected, and at the end of the data collection period, data will be analyzed. Data analysis. The data analysis will either support or not support the hypothesis, thus leading to conclusions of the study. The data collected will be the frequency of removals out of the general education classroom for IEP students when they exhibit behaviors. The frequency for both groups will be averaged together to determine a mean for both sets. Data will be collected over a semester in an academic school year. The data will be analyzed using an independent sample t-test. Based on this data, p-value, and significant level, I will either accept the hypothesis or null the hypothesis. Variables. The control for this study is a group of students not being given token economies as a positive reinforcement for not exhibiting behaviors that keep students out of the general education classroom. The independent variable in the study are the token economies being used as a positive reinforcement for not exhibiting behaviors that keep students out of general education classrooms. The dependent variable in the study is the frequency of behaviors that keep special needs students from being able to stay in the general education classroom. Consecutive and operational definition. We have token economies, least restrictive environment, general education, special education, positive reinforcement, and behaviors. These are the definitions that we would be using for our project. Instruments. One instrument of the study will be a token economy sheet. The sheet will be used to keep track of what manipulatives are used and the degree to which they are applied. The other instruments will be in the general education removal chart. The chart will keep track of how many times a student is removed from the general education classroom and brought back to the self-contained setting. Limitations. Limitations that may interfere with the study's success can be specific to the student's IEP that could change the use and frequency of manipulatives given to the token economy. Furthermore, influence from administration or the special education coordinators could impact the study. This includes having children removed from the class for academic purposes and specific school policies. It is important to note that manipulatives are used in the token economy system. It may be difficult to coordinate achievement to specific manipulatives being used. Timeline: August, then September, March, and then May. Results: significance. If token economies are found to inhibit negative behaviors in the general education classroom, the students can spend more time in the general education classroom, thus making it their least restrictive environment. To see students' growth, I would need to see an adverse corrective between token economy and disruptive behavior. If the behaviors decrease, the student is spending more time in the general education classroom than increasing the student's achievement. Change in initial plan. In my original plan, I would be more intentional with the token economies used. I would identify population samples that have similar LREs, and furthermore, I would want to conduct the study across several elementary schools to extend validity. Future research. An additional research can be conducted in the various token economies to determine which strategies are most effective. Research can be conducted on how token economies impact along with my research will be conducted to identify other ways to keep students engaged in the general